Uh, yeah, so I would say better. I'm not sure, but I could say that better than average human. I would say in most cases yes, right? But I still think that in there are a lot of cases where human can do much better than AI. I don't think we can rely that heavily on AI. But the faster, I'm sure, right? So there are things which you can definitely do much faster with AI. Reason being that it has definitely more storage. See, our brain can. There is a rate limit in our brain, right? And how much we can process. TI, it also has a limit, but that's much higher than our brain, right? So it can definitely do things much faster. So there's a lot of contextual knowledge that you need to have, which I think where humans can definitely do better than AI. That's my take.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I totally agree to the point. But in my take is there are two things. One is the hallucination, where it basically take you to the deep hole. Another one, which AI is better in doing it, is a correlation, which for humans, right, it usually takes a lot of time in digging deeper, looking into the logs, especially when there is a cross-functional element involved, right? Today we had a session from Nadeem, which he talks about the NAC solution, where to troubleshoot combined solution level things, right? There are a lot of pieces involved, right? And a lot of the data need to be correlated. So one thing which is in doing it is definitely a correlation, I would say, where you feed all these information to the AI system, and that has uh, the lot of peculiar things to deeply understand. The weakness, I would say that it just takes you to the rat hole if it just hallucinate many things, right? So you'll have to be little careful in what you are doing. Yeah.
I would just like to add to what Prabhash said, right? But in terms of IP and the problems that we are trying to attack, right? So typically when we are troubleshooting or the kind of testing we do in our Candela labs as well, we have certain parameters that we are trying to monitor and fine tune. Whereas there are a lot more in terms of looking for certain micro signatures within the data that is being exchanged, at the rate at which is being exchanged, the kind of CPU fluctuations that are happening while such tests are being conducted, right? So I think AI would play a significant role if we leverage that capability to do micro inspection and detect patterns out of that.
So in the real world, normally like that, there are too many variables, like variables which is not possible for the human mind to even understand and interpret that which are important. So with AI, I think that one thing is like that, that burden is not there on us. We can train the models and get the results. So the too many variables, we need not be awed by that. Because as humans, when we look at those many variables, we try to solve the problem in a certain way, not looking at the data holistically. So AI helps in that. So definitely, like there are things, and I think AI also, like in the past 4 or 5 years, we have to see the way it has evolved. There are so many models which have come up. So it is also like in a growing phase, but only risk or only the challenge, like what we see normally, the training of the AI models. So we talk about so many AI models. We have also tried to, like implement some of those things. But the challenge we find is like, like getting that accurate data and getting the data to train those AI models. That is that is where the, like mainly the challenges lie, because we do not have that amount of data to get that amount of data to, train the models. There the challenges comes be with AI.
Many industries are adopting AI. What makes Wi Fi a particularly good fit for AI driven solutions?
I think any connectivity solution, basically, like if you see, like it has the typical problems of a service outage or the service not meeting up to the standards of the customers. And any operator who has his network would definitely would like to optimize on the operational expenditure that is incurred in maintaining the network. And Wi-Fi is the most widely used network. So definitely like AI should be used in case of Wi-Fi to, like resolve the operational issues.
I would say that from AI perspective, we should start looking at Wi-Fi beyond just connectivity. So obviously, connectivity is a given, right? So I think most of the industry is still talking about AI and Wi-Fi in terms of troubleshooting. In fact, your previous question was what is the top thing, right? So I think we answered in different ways, but we never mentioned what is that thing. But I think it was common that it was troubleshooting, right? We all talk about, so that was the most talked about use case. But I think we have to go beyond that, right? So Wi-Fi is enabler kind of thing, right? Which enables people to use a lot of applications over network, right? The good thing is everything passes through it. Now, what you do with that data, that is where I think AI will shine. Not only just troubleshooting, not only RRM, but if you collect the right kind of data, if you process the right kind of data, then what kind of insights you can get? Do you get insights about the applications, the devices, the people roaming around, right? And then how you correlate, like Ashwin said, right? It's all about correlation. So that is where I think the juice lies, right?
What is the current state of AI in the Wi-Fi industry? Still early stages or already making real impact in deployments?
Yeah. I think we have gone past the AI washing stage, and we are in the operational element right now, right, which is an AI driven factor, but definitely not autonomously enable the area. So what I mean by that is today we know what is happening, okay, but we don't intend to take actions right now. We don't want to take actions at this point in time because we wanted to be 100% sure the whatever the suggestions, the predictions that we come across would really translate into the user problem. But certainly the adaption has gone past in a way that we get a lot of telemetry from client side, access point side, and all of this. With this, we classify the right things, whether the call quality is good or not, or what is the client journey, and all those things we are mapping with the AI. We predict, also we kind of suggest, but we are not yet to make changes to the customer network.
Yeah, so I am of a slightly different opinion. I consider AI to be like a fundamental foundational technology, right? So when computers came, we did not know that the number of applications that today we see and we assume it is part of it, right? And we sometimes don't realize that there's a computer in a watch or sometimes in your glasses also now, right? In the same way, I think at the moment, not just Wi-Fi industry, all industries are trying to explore and see how it makes sense for them. And uh, beyond a chat GPT like interface, right? So there's a lot of work to be done by teams like ours or groups like ours who would find specific architectures of multiple layers of artificial intelligence. It would not be one large LLM that will you ask a question, you get the answer. I don't think that that's the model that typically will be what you'll see few years down the line. Rather, there will be complex architectures built using this foundational technology to solve problems in respective domains.
And just to add one more point, this is very important. Uh, so I think AI. So when you talk about whether what stage we are in, I think we have definitely crossed one stage where people are really thinking that we have to use AI to do something, right? But I think if we just think that we have to use AI to make human operations more efficient, I think there will be a limit to it. AI is like how to say it's fundamental, very foundational change. We have to think about those things which were not possible when we did not have AI. And I think once we start thinking like that, there a lot more use cases will emerge in time. So it is there, but it has a lot more to offer. And you will see that in coming years. Yeah. Think differently. Think it's like you have to rethink our, the way we design or think about.
No, I think like whatever they told, because we also see that currently the customer, see the initial the AI was driven because of the customer requirements. So as the customers also understood that this is the field, so they said like, like, do you have AI tools? which makes the maintenance easier, which makes it more proactive. So operators started working on those areas. But as he said, like probably we have to think beyond the boundaries, think about, like what else can be offered. Here again, like I see a limitation on the currently, like whatever are the platforms that we make use for the Wi-Fi access points. Because if we are looking at the proper use cases, then the platform also has to be, like computationally, it should have that first part to drive those models. Typically, right now, most of them are happening in a centralized place, and then the analysis and everything. So, but then if we are looking at use cases beyond the proactive maintenance and other things, then we will have to probably build more stronger AP platforms. The existing platforms may not suffice for those kind of use cases.
Now, you have mentioned about AI surpassing the adoption state and collecting some client telemetry data. So I'd like to know more from you about how are enterprise Wi-Fi companies leveraging AI today.
Uh, yes, the enterprise Wi-Fi companies today they are using AIs a lot, especially we are making systems which are self-aware and self-healing by nature. That way, traditionally, if you see, we are more reactive, right? That means like there was a lot of manual effort. People used to fly to the customer site, uh, try to gather logs, try to correlate, and then simple problem uh, once they fix it may take several weeks or months to even like find the relevant solution to it, but AI can simply do it in no time, right? Because it has been fed with a lot of data and everything, right? So that's why I mentioned that we are already in a phase where we are building systems which are self-healing and self-aware. We have already gone past that stage, and we got a lot of data, and from we are moving from monitoring stage to understanding stage, from reactive to proactive stage, right? So that way we are more of have and Wi-Fi in particular, right? We have a lot of data points now, right? Be it from a client side, be it from the AP side, be it from the network side. All these informations are coming to the central place where Wi-Fi is in the right spot to give us the relevant solution or RCA that we want for.
Share a customer story where AI solved a Wi-Fi challenge that was previously perceived impossible or very hard to fix? Or is it too soon to see, AI solving such hard, complex problems today?
So I mean, I get the problem statement in my mind, but see what I come across different customer issues, right? See, what I mostly notice is some of these the data packets, right? So, for example, the DHCP broadcast, or some of these storms, or the DHCP lease renewal process, right? Which is very short-lived packets, right? So, those are the things are very hard to troubleshoot if you see in most networks, right? Because they the lease shorter lease time or something happens every 4 hours once, right? Manually it is very very hard to solve that kind of a problem, right? So we have seen our client journey page or in the system clearly pointing out the radius failures or a DHCP failure, calling out for such a anomaly detection. It's kind of an anomaly detection where it kind of correlated the DHCP problem or broadcast storm is happening in the network in a very nice client journey dashboards. So I would say without those dashboards, which is all of AI driven, right? It's going to be really, really hard to troubleshoot it manually, and over the period of time, the people also so not so used to this AI tools and techniques. Doing it manually, it's going to be a very very hard at this point in time. And one thing which I wanted to quote specifically is the people flying to the site to solve the problem is drastically reduced these days. 5 years back, you would clearly say that no, there is a critical issue on the field. Somebody has to fly there to solve the problem. But today there are a lot of AI dashboards and a lot of metrics available. So you don't have to, you can look into each of these data points and then they give you a little bit of suggestions for you, right? So you can leverage them and do a quicker mean time to resolution and solve the customer issues. That way, I believe that is the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing. So, as you said, this is hard, and this is hard because so there are three. If you are really troubleshooting something, customer issue, there are three things that you need, right? You need the domain knowledge, which is Wi-Fi expertise, protocol knowledge, and all those things. You need the contextual knowledge, like what are the configurations, what kind of devices are there, and then uh, about 30, I think, and then your logic, right? Business logic. You know how you use these two knowledge sources, and then the third part is the logic that you combine and then you figure out something, right? First part, the domain knowledge is to put into a system a few years back. Now all that is part of the LLM, right? The word knowledge is there. They understand about protocols, so that part has become very easy. System knowledge, I think all the companies have, right? And the third part is you need to build, right? But I think this is not that easy, right? It takes time. It takes multiple iterations because, and that is where the human experience will come into picture. Slowly, I think we'll get there, right? Uh, so on the second part, right, the contextual knowledge, the configuration is what kind of devices are just one thing, but there is one thing which keeps changing over time, like the understanding of clients. Client softwares keep changing, clients keep changing, and that is where players who have millions of devices deployed in the field, which keep getting this data and pushed to their data lake. I think they definitely have an edge to understand this part of the problem, right? Changing client behavior, because that is part of the equation, right? How do you solve this problem? So that is why it's hard. It's not easy problem.
Yeah, before going to further questions, I'd like to open the mic for audience. So if any one of you has questions for panel members, you can certainly ask.
Goods companies are doing R&D or some kind of work on Wi-Fi layer AI in Wi-Fi, but 5-layer AI.
Yeah, so recently I was in one of the AI architects conclave happened here in Bangalore, and there are a couple of senior people from Qualcomm, and we had a similar question because ultimately AI has to be applied at different stages, right? If you do it only in the application, only in the back, it does not help, or it helps in certain ways, right? So I think Qualcomm is working on those things to identify how they can provision a model or any sort of intelligence at their level to be able to add value to this in terms of AI.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from you, ma'am. Since you are working at CDOT, I'd like to know how the role of AI in government sector is taking place.
Like in regards to Wi-Fi, actually in the government, there is a more of a concern with respect to the security of the government networks. So we have like a lot of stringent authentication, authorization procedures, but then we still see that there are some random attacks which happens in the government network. So the one area which is of key focus is like that how we can make use of AI to identify malicious clients or rogue clients, like identifying the traffic usage patterns, like what else can be done. Yeah, the rule-based algorithms. Like if you say currently, like there are a lot of rule-based algorithms which are there available on the PISA APs to identify the malicious bands. And that, like another kinds of attacks which happens, which these APs are not able to determine. So there was studies happening on that actually, that how we can make use of AI to secure the government networks.
This is about the placement of where the AI lives in the network. So, where does AI actually live in the network today? Is it on the AP, somewhere in the controller, or in the cloud? And why does that placement matters on which device it is sitting on?
Currently, whatever we are doing, it is there either on the controller or on the cloud. We do not have the many like any AI algorithms running on the AP, but that is the future. That where we need to go. Maybe like others can come in.
Is that the aspiration to have like?
Yes.
This is definitely like even we which is even meaning to the data we can be actually taken
if grant anticipate action, like it had to be there somewhere on the end node. And equally like we should that like a active edge rather than like pushing it everything on the center. So that can be aspiration, but as I said, like platforms have to evolve for that. Currently, the platforms do not enable that, but we may have to move towards that.
Yeah, so just one point there. So I think it is definitely the aspiration, but more than aspiration, I think we should think like what makes sense where, right? So we need to send some data to cloud or controller if it makes sense to have some kind of intelligence which is coming from multiple access points. If something can be done on the access point and only that access point will make use of that information, I think it makes sense to have it on the access point. Now whether we can do it right now or not, that's a different question. That is where your question about whether we are doing something on the hardware level or we can have some small language models, running on the access point, all those things will come. I think very soon you will see all those things coming. But we have to be very clear about the use cases, right? You can't, there is which can be done only on the control or on the cloud. If it has to be something, some decision which is based on, how the clients are moving across different access points or, RRM or, channel utilization, all those things. Obviously, one AP cannot take those decisions. So we have to see if it's only about the data that is going through the access points and you have to do something about that, there are some, maybe it will make sense. Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think just to give an example to add to that, right? So if there are certain, like we were looking at that earlier presentation about NCS variations and that, right? If you want to do such an analysis, you have to do it at the edge. You can't do it in the control, and vice versa. There are use cases where it does not make any sense because you have to look at aggregated data, and you must do it at a higher level, either in the controller or the cloud.
This question is for Pravas. So, for any organizations exploring AI-powered Wi-Fi, what should be the strategy of adoption should look like? So, what are the kind of basics that the company should focus on, like data, training, and visibility? Uh, so, what basics should be there in the first place to start with AI?
Yeah, good question. So I think just like anything else, we have to think from the first principles, right? Like I said, what makes sense, right? Right now, I don't think, again, it depends, what are the use cases. So I talked about you having a lot of data about millions of clients that has to be done on the cloud. And there are some traditional ML algorithms, this, right? Those things you might need to train because on that data, right? So that is where training will help. Now, if you are talking about visibility, you don't need to. I don't think right now there is any use case where you need to train a LLM with your use cases to get what you want, right? Because that's a visibility layer. Visibility layer, and I personally think that people using traditional ML, there are very few cases, where you should use that. Like client example that I gave, because that really is a huge data set, right? Uh, I have a contrarian view that a lot of vendors really talk about using AI for RRM. Somehow I'm not convinced that you really need that kind of AI to find out what good channels are. I think just by, I mean, humans can do better job, 95% get there, right? That is what I believe. But the real AI use case that I see after especially Gen AI is the personalization, and that all happens on the application layer, right? Like Ashwin said, you collect data from different sources and then how you layer them, right? And then how you give them to Gen AI and then give you that personalized experience. Now it's easier than ever to remember, what each user of your, let's say, dashboard or your account, right, really wants from that, right? You might be looking for some other information. I might be looking for some other information. Your questions could be different. Mine could be different. How does it know? How does it remember, right? How it can personalize those dashboards for you? If we both are trying to troubleshoot a problem, and let's say you are a much better debugger than me, right? Can it somehow tell me that, okay, if it was this guy, he would have done looked at this thing. So these are the kind of things I think we should look at, and these are the real use cases of AI where you can create some differentiators. This is what I believe.
So now I'd like to start this with Ashutosh, and then anybody can follow. So how should companies measure the success or ROI of AI in Wi-Fi? Beyond speed or uptime, what are the real business outcomes one should look for so that they can claim that they are successful in AI implementations?
Okay, I mean, before I go to Wi-Fi, I think Sam Altman and the company is spending $1 trillion building data centers. They don't know what is the ROI and how they're going to get it back because the annual revenue is 12 billion, right? So this is a very complicated question and too early for an technology vertical to be able to measure that. But given the global, traction towards these technologies, definitely there will be applications and there will be returns. This is generally on a non-technical note, but if I have to do that as an organization, the math is very simple, right? The number of tickets that you were raised versus the cost of every ticket and the number of tickets that you get once you deploy certain technology. It could be AI, it could be a new software also. It's not about AI. I think the formula would not change for that. Here, what is important to do for not just one organization or one OEM to be able to reap the benefits is to do some sort of a federated data set building, right? I think we are actively working with WBA in a chapter that they are pursuing for AI for Wi-Fi, and we're looking at use cases, creating some sort of a data lake, where we source data sets from all the vendors and create that into a knowledge source that can be leveraged for overall improvement of quality of Wi-Fi, irrespective of vendors. Of course, there are interests and there are discussions happening there that how does it impact my revenue versus your revenue. All that could get sorted out. Once we get into that space, right, whether individual organizations or general data sets are available, I think this is one thing which all of us should be thinking about. Once we have such data sets that we can leverage, like what Prabhash mentioned, you would be able to build apps, you would be able to troubleshoot products, and you will also be able to find new intuitions which till date probably we are not pursuing as Wi-Fi problems, right? There were discussions about whether the reported problem is a Wi-Fi problem. I think you mentioned, right? It is always there that is my ISP's network at the moment not working, or is it the product or is it the client, right? So those questions better be answered through use of this technology.
Anybody would like to add on a question?
Yeah. So when you talk about ROI, right? How do you calculate ROI? ROI in terms of revenue or save time, right? Revenue is difficult because to get extra revenue because of AI, you have to show the value to the customer, right? Now, how do you quantify that value? User experience is one thing, and there are multiple things. So let's park that. Saving time, right? So I think that is more quantifiable right now, but again depends on what use case. Like troubleshooting is a very good use case. Support ticket, as Postman mentioned, is another use case. But prerequisite to that is how do we evaluate whether it is doing the same thing or not, right? So you have human support and you have AI support. Let's say, for example, right now, human support you can do, let's say, 100 tickets a day. Let's say with AI you can do 1,000 tickets a day. But how many of them are false positive? Who's doing that, right? So unless you have a very good evaluation that it is as good as a human, and then you track this metric, then I think you might get some sense of ROI. But these are as everybody in the panel is saying, that they are just starting that phase, right? It will take some time, but I'm very, very sure we'll get there. Things are improving much faster, and then everybody's learning about how to use this system. But yeah, sure.
I think he supported well, but in my opinion, just to add one more point here is we should not do just for the sake of AI. If you do that, then measuring the ROI would be really tough, right? So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
In fact, during lunch break, this is what I was discussing with Dr. Shrikant and others, right? So people are using AI just because AI is trending. That is not the right way to use it, because in many cases, AI will give you probabilistic answers. If you can do something with some workflows which will give you deterministic answer, you should do that. It is AI just high cost, and then you also get a probabilistic answer, which is not the right. So you should be very clear exactly where to use AI, not just because it's the hype. right? So I would have to conclude with that.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe I'll put Prabhash on the spot, right? So do you have a counterpoint where something has come up where using AI, because today everybody is running after AI for the sake of it. It's easier to say we can back off, but probably we can't. So is there a counterpoint where somebody has had the guts to say that AI has not worked and the old style approaches work? Do we have any such counterpoints, or they're all packed inside somewhere where we don't release it?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies who are doing experiments with AI, I think they are realizing it internally. But claiming it, saying it in public is.
Saying that in public is illegal.
But yeah, that's the truth, right? So people have been experiments. See, everybody wants to try AI and see whether it is really better or type. But in most cases, they are running those playbooks with AI, which is just high cost. But you could automate that, right? That's a one-time effort, and then you just get the same results, right? You should use AI where you can really use its reasoning, like agentic behavior, like if and else conditions, right? It can decide on its own. That is where it will help.
Yeah, hello. See, over last 6 months or 1 year, right? Definitely there is an improvement in efficiency in whatever tasks that we do using AI, right? So we are all saying that AI is a bubble, right? But over a period of 2 to 5 years, right? It can definitely evolve much better, right? So we have to give some time for AI also, right? Because it is very, it's just being there for 1 year, right? So
Don't take it that in that sense. When we say bubble, maybe the intention is not in terms of adoption of AI or using it for benefit of whatever we are doing. It is more towards, again, investments, the kind of investments that are happening, and the amount of money that you have to burn to ask a simple question, right? Maybe we don't do it, but whoever is doing at this moment, it is looking insane. But of course, as you said, whatever are the benefits of being able to draw inferences or use reasoning models will definitely help every domain, including Wi-Fi.
And just to clarify, I particularly don't think AI is a bubble. I do think it is. There's so many ways where you can use AI the right way. But I was saying that people has to really think where it makes sense, right? You should not use AI everywhere, just because you have to say AI powered or AI driven, right? So I am a big believer in AI. I almost automating a lot of my own personal and professional workflows through AI, right? So and I've seen that productivity jump, right? So I agree, and it's gonna get better. Just that you need to know where to use it and how to use it.